Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video has been titled Best and Worst Luxury Purchases of 2020, or somewhere along those lines anyway. However, I am very pleased to report that this year I have only made one worst purchase, or one purchase that I'm probably going to sell because I know I'm really not going to get much wear out of it. So essentially today's video is going to be a little run through of the luxury purchases that I've made throughout this year. And for those of you who are regulars here to my channel, there are a few which I haven't featured or spoken about before, so stay tuned for those. Right, I haven't done these in any particular order, but I'm gonna start off with my Celine Seau Sangle bag, which you guys know very well by now. This one I purchased secondhand back in August of this year. It is new Celine. I bought it off Vestiaire. It was in excellent condition, worn or used only a few times. There was no evidence of scratches or anything. Now I have done a full thorough review on this bag. You can find that in the handbag reviews playlist on my channel if you want to know more specifics about the pros and cons of this bag. But it's safe to say, judging from my Instagram and any of my videos, I've featured this in pretty much every single one since buying it back in August. It's been one of the best luxury purchases I've ever made, ever. Not just this year, but ever. This bag has been on my brain for many, many years just because it's so simple. It always looked to me very functional. I tried it on in Selfridges in pretty much every colour there was, but I knew I was always going to go for black. I have, since buying this, been eyeing up or been just sort of browsing through some of the more neutral colours, purely because I've used this bag so much already in such a short space of time, including having a lockdown thrown in there as well, and that for me just indicates that it was a very, very, very good purchase. And moving on now to a more summer orientated purchase, and it was the infamous Chanel dad sandals. These I feel were like the original pair that came out that really started off the craze. They are the black quilted leather with the very subtle, and this is why I actually bought these, the subtle black logo, which kind of looks like the chain with the leather woven through. These very specifically were the ones I wanted. Of course, the big chunky dad sandal trend was very much a trend, and there were lots of high street alternatives, but something was telling me that if I bought the Chanel ones, that they would definitely be something I wore. Now, granted, I bought these in August. I bought them new. And although I did buy them in August, which is relatively late on in the season, I thought that I did get quite a lot of wear out of these. I mean, you can see from the soles that they have been worn. Also from the footbeds here as well. I wore them a lot because our heat wave was a little bit extended and ran through into September. So I did get a lot of wear out of them, but they're also something which, I'm going to drop. They're also something which I'm really looking forward to getting out next season, or rather next spring, summer season, and getting a lot of wear out of again. I think they're very much a Marmite shoe, as I've referenced before, but I personally love them, and I think that's all that matters, especially when you're buying luxury goods, is that that money is going towards something which you really, really love. Right, on to my next purchase. These, again, were another second-hand purchase. I'm actually just going to put the left boot down because they're quite heavy and my arms are not the strongest arms in the world. So yes, these were another second-hand purchase. These were from a few weeks back, maybe even a couple of months ago. And these are the Row motorcycle boots. As you can see, they haven't been worn a great deal. These were actually from their previous owner, worn once or maybe even twice. And then I whipped them up and I have worn them a couple of times already. But because we've been in our month-long lockdown, I haven't had a lot of opportunity to wear them. So I'm really excited to get lots of wear out of these over the coming winter months. Hopefully we won't have another lockdown and I can get even more wear out of them. They're really, really comfortable. The Row is a brand which I very much like the aesthetic of. It's very minimal. It's very much my taste. not everything is my taste, but a lot of things my taste. They also favour very sort of neutral and darker coloured palette. However, it has to be a brand which admittedly I would avoid buying at full price or would avoid buying new. I would always look for the row with a discount, which actually you can buy the row on the outnet very, very often. Like they always, I feel like every week they have new editions from the row. I personally think, and this is just my personal opinion for me and how I spend my money, that they're quite overpriced for what they are. I'm all up for paying for quality, but with the row, I think it's just a clever marketing scheme to make it seem a little bit more exclusive. And I'm not such a big fan of that. However, looking for these items secondhand, so long as you get a lot of wear out of them, I'm totally game for that, and I'm really looking forward to wearing these. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled over on the gram now that we're out of lockdown. You can see some more ways that I'm going to style these. Right, this is another item which you haven't probably seen before. It's really heavy because I've padded it out with some of the dog's towels and blankets because I didn't have enough tissue to stuff this with. This is a vintage Celine holdall, and I bought this a few weeks ago now. So obviously 2020, it's not had a lot of use. In fact, it's had no use from me because I've only had it for a few weeks. But obviously travel has not been on the agenda this year. So I'm looking forward to using this one. I would say I bought this as kind of like an overnight or like 48-hour kind of bag. And I was initially, I'm going to have to put this down, I'm sorry. My arm, I am not Mr. Muscle, I tell you. I was initially looking for something like the Louis Vuitton Epi leather in black, very minimal, not with loads of logos on it or anything. I didn't want the monogram. I wanted something really clean and minimal looking, and that's what I was actually looking for. That is the bag that I had in my wish list. However, I was on Vestiaire and this one popped up, and for a start it was quite affordable. It was under £300. I think I paid £260 for this. It's in really good condition for vintage. Like the corners are normally the areas where you will see the most wear. They're immaculate. It is black in colour, and then it has really tiny Celine monogrammed print on it. And every now and then, is it every now and then or is it just there? It might be just there. Oh, here and here, there is teeny tiny little printed Celine. So again, I feel like the monogramming on this one, unless you look closely, it doesn't particularly look like a logo. It just looks like a light pattern, but it does have that Triomphe logo monogrammed on there. And for me, I think that branding is quite subtle. It has gold hardware, and it also, hopefully I'll be able to demonstrate this better in the cutaways because it's currently padded out, but it has that kind of doctor's bag frame inside, so it leaves the bag quite structured, which I think for a weekend bag is always a good shout, because no matter what you put in there, it leaves it to be quite this boxy kind of shape. So yes, that is my new vintage Celine holdall. Right, now on to my next purchase. This is also a second-hand purchase, although I believe this was it new? I think. Yeah, I'm sorry, I've bought so much off Vestiaire that I can't remember. I'm pretty positive this was new, and it had the tags as well. Now, I've used this a couple of times. This is the Wandler Ava bag in the large size. So it's quite a big sort of tote. It has an adjustable shoulder strap on the side so you can make it longer or shorter. You can carry it over the shoulder, but it is this large size, is quite bulky. It does also come in a medium size and a mini size. The leather is really, really soft and very smooth, so it will be susceptible to scratches. I think I have one on the back already because I've used this a couple of times, but it's a beautiful bag, really beautifully made. It has this contrast white stitching on, which is something that I was quite drawn to, and that was something that I really liked, along with this really basic element and sort of style of the bag, and gold hardware, which is usually quite important to me. So this bag is, I believe, £700 if bought new. I paid under £500 for this one. Again, I feel like this is a brand that you could probably find secondhand, so I'm not entirely sure if I would buy it new. I don't think they're overpriced. I just think that there are options to buy secondhand. I mean, that pretty much goes for everything, to be honest with you. I will always look secondhand. Right, going back to shoes, and it is my Manolo Maysail mules. Now, granted, these haven't had a great deal of wear this year, and actually when I bought these, I knew they weren't going to be a shoe that I was going to get weekly wear out of. I knew these were going to be potentially an occasion shoe or something that I would wear not so frequently, but they were very much an investment. They were a pair of shoes which I've wanted for so long. I have never owned a pair of Manolos, and actually during the first lockdown I rewatched all of Sex and the City, and I'd already had these on my list, but it kind of reignited my passion for them, and I was like, I need to see if I can find those. Unfortunately, after quite a while of searching, I could not find them in my size secondhand, and actually because I've never owned Manolos before, I wasn't entirely sure of what size I would need, so I did buy them new purely because I wanted that option of being able to return them if they didn't fit. So that's the only kind of downside with buying shoes secondhand, unless you've already tried them on or you know your size in that brand. It's a little bit tricky. So yes, these, in my opinion, were a really good investment. They're not the most practical of shoes. They are in the sense that they're not a very big heel. However, they are a mule, so they flap about off the back of your feet. You can't walk particularly quickly in them. So there's definitely no running in them, but they're beautiful. And yeah, in my eyes, I'm really glad that I purchased them, and they will be within my wardrobe for many, many a year. Right, next purchase is the little Celine knot bracelet, which I featured in a video, what was it, a couple of weeks ago, I think, the How to Be a Better Consumer video, and I showed you guys a few bits that I'd bought off Vestiaire recently. This was an item which has been out for a while, as I mentioned in that video, and has always been something that I've kind of wanted to add to my jewellery collection. I feel like it's quite minimal, it's really wearable, it goes with a lot of the Majuri pieces which I already own and wear, this bangle in particular which I just don't take off. I sleep in it, shower in it, everything. Yeah, it's a small item, but I feel like it lifts me a bit when I wear it, and that for me is definitely a positive. And then again, these were also featured in that same video a couple of weeks ago. These were the Celine, I think these are called the V-neck pumps or V-neck court shoes that I bought off Vestiaire again, so secondhand, in black velvet. They were bought, hardly worn. I think the previous owner had worn them once or twice. No wear to the heel tips at all, in beautiful condition. I haven't had chance to wear these this year, but I might wear them on Christmas Day. I don't know. We're going over to my sister-in-law's for Christmas Day, so depending on what I decide to wear, I don't know if I'm going to go glam or if I'm going to go like jumper and jeans. Either way, I think these would work, but kind of similarly to the Manolo Maysails, these are going to be a classic black court shoe which can stay in my wardrobe. Yes, they might not get daily, weekly, they might not even get monthly wear, but they're definitely a wardrobe staple and an investment which I'm glad that I now have. And one more item which was also featured in the same video is the Nanushka Joe bag. I've had chance to wear this a little bit more now because I've used it very much for when we kind of do a supermarket run, and now lockdown's over, I'm hoping I can use it a lot more. It's been a really good bag actually. It's quite durable because it is PU. There's lots of people that picked up on the fact that this was PU because it's called vegan leather. There are some vegan leathers out there from some brands who are really working hard to create plant-based vegan leather, which of course will not involve plastic, but the aim or the takeaway from that message is to buy things secondhand. So this was another Vestiaire purchase, and it's looking at buying things secondhand, whether they be genuine leather or whether they be vegan leather, PU, whatever you want to choose to call it. The idea is to keep things out of landfill, which I think one commenter very kindly wrote on that video, and I completely agree. And on to the next item, which, look at that, it's not black. Surprise, surprise. I know, I'm gonna have to put that down again because it's heavy. I know there's been a lot of black in today's video, and I'm probably gonna touch on this a bit more thoroughly in another video, but black this year has been, although it's been a pile of pants on one hand, it's also been a year where I think a lot of us have reevaluated some things. And especially when it comes to my purchasing habits, I feel like I've taken another development this year, and I've only been buying things which, regardless of their colour, I know that I will use. And I've always been drawn to black, and yet somehow something occasionally, if I see something in black, I'll pull away from it a little bit because I think I own too much black. If you love black, it doesn't matter if you own too much of it. You just buy whatever the heck you want. Although admittedly, I did actually look for black in this bag. I told you guys the story of this bag in the what I bought secondhand during lockdown video. So this is another vestiaire purchase back from spring this year. It is the Gucci Horsebit Hobo bag. It is in the colour Tobacco Tan. This was the bag that was made very famous by Jessica Simpson back in the early noughties when she did the series Newlyweds. I have been obsessed with this bag ever since. It has a few drawbacks to it, which I'm probably going to do in a more in-depth handbag review. It's very heavy. I've only got dust bags in there to pad it out, but it is quite a heavy bag due to this horsebit little number on the top, and it's also not super practical if you overfill it because the strap, despite these little bubbles on the side, they're fixed. It's not adjustable, so actually when you pop it on your shoulder, it's quite tricky, especially if you have a drop sleeve coat or a bulky jumper or something with a lot of fabric in this area. It's not the most practical, so there are a few drawbacks to this, but I still absolutely love it, so that for me counts as a best purchase. And now finally for my last item, and these are the only item within this video which I would class as a worst purchase, are my Gucci cat eye sunglasses. I had this very specific pair of sunglasses on my wish list for a good year or so. It could have even been longer. However, my style, I feel like everyone's style is constantly developing. Mine this year took another step towards being very, very minimal. And so I feel that these no longer, to quote Marie, but they no longer spark joy. I also feel like the shape of them isn't a shape that I would be drawn to right now. I'm definitely going for not a super chunky shape and not a very narrow shape, somewhere in between. So something like my Ray-Ban Meteors, and these just, unfortunately, they feel a bit too feminine, and I just, yeah, there's something that's niggling me about them. So this kind of goes to show that even if you are careful and you're making lists, you know, for purchases, hindsight still comes into it, and sometimes there are purchases which just don't work out, and so that's these. So I'll probably list these up for sale maybe towards next sort of spring or summertime when it is more appropriate for the weather. But yeah, they would be my only luxury purchase that I've made this year, which I would say were a bit of a mistake. Right guys, there we are. Those are all my luxury purchases from 2020. Looking back at everything now that I have everything kind of surrounding me, I feel quite proud of the fact that I've managed to buy so much secondhand. I think it just goes to show that if you start taking those steps towards buying a little bit more consciously, then it can work. Evidence right here. Thank you very much for watching. As always, if you want any more thorough reviews on anything that was featured in today's video, I'm always game for a thorough review, so please do leave those suggestions, requests down in the comment section below, and I will see you all next time.